Ouray, a land known for sand and rocks and some banger songs. Oh, and just generally being the home to what is, without a doubt, the single hardest official Pokemon game. Pokemon Colosseum! Every battle is a double battle. You're locked to only around 40 options for Pokemon in the main story, all of which you need to capture from the opposing trainers throughout the game, and the majority of which are god-awful Pokemon! The bosses in the game use legendary Pokemon. Everything about this game sounds like it was made to be something that under no circumstances should anyone ever do a Nuzlocke of. So of course I have to do a Nuzlocke of it, right? Well, I did a while ago, but someone had to judge that run a little too hard, so now here we are. This is the tragedy of Mr. Ass. Chapter 1. Yeah, I really don't know what to name this chapter, but I want to split this video into chapters to fit the theme, so this is what you get. Subscribe! We start off by committing an act of terrorism, resetting for about half an hour for a good nature on Umbreon and Espeon, the starters in this game, before ultimately deciding that grinding is cringe and cheating is based, and then wipe the floor with Ryder Willie, because they had to make the only guy with a normal name in this game be a dick joke. Then we go to Phoenix City and wipe the floor with a kidnapper and get a free annoying plot device for the trouble. We see Sephiroth leave the mayor's house, get assaulted by the gang we used to be a part of, grab some Pokeballs from the outskirts stand, and then go back to Phoenix City to see Miror B standing around unsupervised in the mayor's house, which, you know, I'd let him stand around unsupervised in my house too. We beat up the kidnappers again and steal their Makuhita, which, to be honest, I don't like this Pokemon, so it's effectively death fodder to me. Upon leaving, we get the choice of one of the middle stages of the Johto starters, or... well, it should be a choice, but a certain someone decided to use RNG to determine their encounters in this game, so that's what I'm going to do too. Luckily, I ended up getting my favorite of the three, Bayleaf, which, to be honest, is probably the best starter for Colosseum anyway. You may be noticing a theme where there's not much to talk about in these early battles, and that's because they're piss easy. So the thing about Bayleaf and Makuhita is that they're Shadow Pokemon. Shadow Pokemon need to be purified, which can only be done by battling with them until these gauges and places their EXP bars are fully emptied out, and after getting past the first boss of the game. They also have to gradually relearn their own moves as the bar decreases, with the only move they can use off the bat being Shadow Rush, a 90 power typeless move that deals recoil, along with a 95% chance to land a critical hit if the user is in Hyper Mode, which... okay, look, I could describe Hyper Mode too, but I don't want to describe every little mechanic. Just know if a Shadow Pokemon enters Hyper Mode, it wastes a turn and will disobey frequently when you try to use any move aside from Shadow Rush. I was really excited to go to the next town, where one of the potential encounters was a Pokemon tied for my all-time favorite, Quagsire. I rolled the dice, and we got 3, which is Flaffy.
Not bad.
It's not bad, but this is why I will never be happy. We learn that people are being given Shadow Pokemon for winning in the Colosseum challenge at Pyrite Town, so we go and fight Kale, whose main threats include a Seedot with Rock Smash and a Shadow Furret. How did this guy win? Unfortunately, Kale's Furret hits Makuhita with Strength, and since Makuhita's defense stat is not existent, this results in the first death of the run. But at least it wasn't Espeon, I guess. The rest of the battle goes by easily, and after some annoying side questing, it's time to enter the Pyrite Colosseum, which is essentially 4 battles in a row without being able to switch the order of your party between fights. These trainers are absolutely pathetic. On to the next plot point. In the Pyrite building, there are 3 potential encounters. One of them, Mantine, is good, while 2 of them, Yanma and Remoraid, are awful. And unfortunately, I got Remoraid. Now, Remoraid isn't technically awful, evolving into Octillery, which has a really great move pool and one of the few water types in the game with a water move that doesn't have its damage cut in half. However, someone on the dev team made a typo, because while your Pokemon are all level 30 and up at this point, Remoraid is level 20. I don't know how this happened, but it makes it so Remoraid is pretty much a useless meat shield unless you manage to make it past the first boss unscathed. So after, I shit you not, 30 minutes of easy battles against weak opponents, I finally catch Remoraid, and then it's time to fight Firma985, whose Shadow Mantine is actually an issue. Mantine has a good type and fantastic special defense, which, when your team is made up almost entirely of special attackers, kind of sucks. Luckily, Flappy got access to Thundershock before this battle, so...
It's classic.
No!
Ooh!
Oh fuck, what happened?
4
Flaffy
health.
almost died. So it turns out, Mantine's also pretty good with its special attack stat. And critical hits are scary. Switching into Bayleaf and confusing Mantine manages to mostly defuse the situation, but that was a scarily close call, and we haven't even made it to the first major boss yet. Entering into Pyrite Cave, we get Ultra Balls, which make things much easier regarding Shadow Pokemon thanks to a silly little glitch, and my encounter is the one I wanted the most, Swablu. Swablu evolves into one of only 2 dragon types in the game and has great bulk and a great move pool. I was also really excited to get to use a strategy on it in the final area of the game that a friend sold me on, so this was just all around a good time for me. After a really long and easy dungeon, it was finally time to fight Miror, the first and best boss in the game. Miror's team is sort of a big RNG check. If your encounter sucked up to this point, this fight will wipe out half your team. He has 4 Ludicolos with weird movesets, but I was scared because one of them has Ice Beam, which is just scary generally, especially this early on in a game with limited options. Miror will always use Rain Dance on both of his Pokemon if it's not raining in the battle, which could be easy to take advantage of if my Pokemon could learn any moves, but since they can't, this battle is largely just whittling down his Ludicolo slowly one at a time. After taking out his first Ludicolo, he sends out Ludicolo, which may sound scarier, but don't worry, his next Pokemon will be even scarier. One of his Ludicolos uses Leech Seed on Umbreon, and for some reason, I just refused to switch out. Luckily, Umbreon managed to land a critical hit bite, taking out Ludicolo, but this causes his scariest Pokemon, Ludicolo, to come out. This Ludicolo knows Ice Beam, which 2 of my Pokemon are weak to. That essentially means half my team, since one of my Pokemon is Remoraid. I switch Bayleaf out for Espeon, knowing he can take at least 1 Ice Beam, only for Ludicolo to use Astonish on Umbreon, for some reason anyways. I switch Umbreon for Remoraid because it's funny, and use Espeon's Confusion to take out Miror's Ludicolo. Miror retaliates by sending out, you guessed it, Sudowoodo, his Shadow Pokemon. Since this room is considered a different area than the rest of the cave, I was allowed to catch this, but first I had to deal with this final Ludicolo. I switch Remoraid for Bayleaf to bait a grass move from Ludicolo, but Ludicolo was targeting Espeon anyway because Miror's AI doesn't care about making sense. Sudowoodo's Rock Slide deals a ton of damage to both of my Pokemon. I decide to risk throwing an Ultra Ball at Sudowoodo at the risk of Bayleaf's death, but Sudowoodo escapes. Luckily, Espeon manages to kill Ludicolo, but Sudowoodo takes advantage of my mistake and kills Bayleaf, leaving Espeon at low health as well. I send in Flaffy to hopefully paralyze Sudowoodo to make catching it easier. You may be thinking, why are you trying so hard to catch this Sudowoodo? It's going to sweep your entire team at this point. And as Remoraid dies on screen, let me just say that while it definitely seems like a fumble right now, I would not go back on this decision in 1,000 years. After finally catching Sudowoodo and getting a tiny rat meat shield in return, I decided to end stream for the day, only to find out between streams that Sudowoodo was a shiny! Now, shiny Pokemon in Colosseum are technically the same odds as in any other Pokemon game of this generation, 1 in 8,192. However, it's impossible to know if a Pokemon is shiny in this game until after you've already caught it. As a result of this, shiny Pokemon are a weird novelty in Colosseum and something I've dreamed of being able to obtain for myself. So even if I pretty much threw away any chance of having an easy run by sacrificing 2 pretty good Pokemon here, it was worth it. Chapter 2. The tragedy begins. After adding Plusle and Sudowoodo to the team and leveling Plusle up to being usable, it's time to head to Agate Village, home of the ability to purify your Shadow Pokemon. After beating a trainer whose team is even scarier than Miror. After naming Umbreon Sam and Espeon Mr. Ass, names that will forever go down in history as the names of those 2 silly gay dogs from Pokemon Colosseum.
Riddle me this, Nintendo! Why can't I name my character Mr. Ass, but I can look up dead dogs on the Wii U's web browser?
We meet Rui's senile grandpa, who goes to the Relic Forest to chase Cipher away with his level 50 Pikachu, and there's about a 1 in 65,000 chance that Egan can actually win this fight, so let's see if we got it. Alright, we got a good start. He's getting a good hit in first. Alright, but the Shadow Rush does a lot of damage here. Does he get the static proc? He doesn't, so he lost. Look, the static proc would have been hype as hell is all I'm saying. Scrub's team is scary because not only does he have a level 38 Shadow Hitmontop, but he also has a Geodude with access to a recoilless Double Edge and a Wynot that can force your Pokemon to stay in on an unfavorable matchup. He leads with Geodude and Hitmontop, and I decide to switch Umbreon for Plusle, who dies almost instantly, while Espeon takes out Geodude, who gets replaced by Clamperl. I decide to use Plusle's potential last turn on this planet to use Thunder Wave on Hitmontop, paralyzing it in exchange for Plusle taking its last breath from Hitmontop's Shadow Rush. Sam comes back in and uses Toxic on the Wynot because I didn't know Mirror Coat wouldn't affect Umbreon at the time, while Mr. Ass attempts to weaken the Hitmontop enough for an easy catch. While Triple Kick does a lot of damage to Sam, we manage to catch Hitmontop in the 4th Ultra Ball, and then just do nothing for a few turns while Wynot slowly dies of poison damage. With that out of the way, we finally unlocked access to Purification for Shadow Pokemon. I use this opportunity to purify Flaffy, who evolves into Ampharos and gets nicknamed Amy. Unfortunately, none of my other Pokemon were ready to be purified yet at this point, so it was on to Mount Battle, where Cipher were invading and attempting to steal an item called the Time Flute from Vander, an area lead. Mount Battle is one of the most annoying locations in the run. It's essentially 9 trainer battles in a row before fighting the second major boss of the game, and between each one you get to run all the way back to heal, and it's just not fun. Luckily, these battles are all really easy. 1 down, 2 down, 3 down, 4 down, 5 down, 6 down, 7 down, 8 down, 9... Off to a great start. Off to a fucking phenomenal start. Uh-oh. Hitmontop, you better fucking live. Hitmontop. Hitmontop. If that other one uses self-destruct, Hitmontop is dead. Damn it! How the fuck was I supposed to play around that? So yeah, they put this guy here just to say fuck you to anyone doing a Nuzlocke in the year 2003, before Nuzlocks existed. After this, I decided that I couldn't afford to go into the next boss with any Shadow Pokemon. I couldn't afford to keep Pokemon below level cap because if their defense is just a little bit too low from being unable to level up, that's pretty much a death sentence. After spending the next near hour and a half grinding and purifying Sudowoodo and Swablu, who got nicknamed Big Gnome and Eggman respectively, it was time to head on to face Dakim on Mount Battle. Dakim's team is full of scary Pokemon and a scary strategy that can only be done in double battles, Earthquake and Protect. His only straight up weak Pokemon is Marshtomp, the only one that doesn't know Earthquake or Protect, but otherwise, no matter what he leads with, if his Pokemon are allowed to move, he'll be able to hit you hard with a move that very few Pokemon up to this point resist or are immune to. He unfortunately leads with Metang and Camerupt, which is pretty much the worst possible lead for me. Metang resists almost everything my team is able to do at this point, and Camerupt is just generally bulky and hard to take down at this point. I lead with Sam and Eggman. I decide to take the first turn to use Confuse Ray on Metang and Dragon Dance on Eggman, hoping to stack my attack high enough that his Pokemon's generally high defenses won't be able to save him from Eggman's raw power. Metang manages to get Earthquake off through Confusion while Camerupt uses Protect, dealing a small amount of damage to Sam. On the next turn, I use Confuse Ray on Camerupt while continuing to stack up with Altaria. Camerupt hurts itself, so Dakim doesn't get to attack on this turn. Eggman keeps dancing while Sam starts attacking Metang with Bite. Metang hits itself in Confusion, so Dakim doesn't do anything this turn. Eggman keeps dancing. Sam fails to hit Metang through Protect, and Camerupt hits itself. Dakim does nothing this turn. Eggman finally decides to use Fly while nothing else happens on this turn. Camerupt avoids the Fly with Protect, but Umbreon luckily manages to take out Metang before it can use Earthquake. Dakim sends in Marshtomp next. Altaria flies up, and Umbreon confuses Camerupt again to prevent it from attacking more. Unfortunately, it gets to attack anyway, dealing a ton of HP to both Sam and Marshtomp. Eggman manages to take out Marshtomp while Sam takes out Camerupt with Bite, and Dakim sends in his final 2 Pokemon. Golem and his Shadow Entei. Eggman flies up, targeting Entei, while Sam gets hit by a combined Fire Blast and Earthquake, killing him far too soon. It always sucks losing a starter in a Nuzlocke, as they're the Pokemon who you've had the most time to get attached to, and it's even worse when that starter is one of 2, separating a pair that was clearly always meant to be together, and not just from a gameplay and design standpoint. Good night, sweet prince. We're too good for this world. Eggman takes out Entei, and Mr. Ass comes out to take his revenge against the golem who killed his boyfriend. only for Eggman to outspeed and steal the kill because of all the dragon dances. With 6 deaths up to this point, including 2 of the most valuable possible Pokemon, this was the real beginning of this run's Snowball. But if there's one thing I can say about myself, it's that I don't know when to quit, and that, sometimes, is enough for things to work out. Chapter 3. The Snowball Grows. With only a skeleton team remaining, I decided it was time to start working on grabbing any useful TMs. I beat a random roller boy in Fennec City to get the TM for Torment, which I never used, and win all 4 rounds of the Fennec Colosseum to get the TMs for Sunny Day, Rain Dance, Giga Drain, and Solar Beam. I don't really have much use for Rain Dance, but Sunny Day is a super useful move in this game because of the amount of weather teams opponents use in this game, along with the way weather AI works. I steal a key off of one of the Miror B peons I fought earlier and head down into the Under, an underground city that's pretty much completely under the control of Cipher. The Cipher admin down here tells everyone in the city that there are imposters among us. Since everyone in the city is a dumb moron, they don't realize that I am the spy. I buy pretty much every single possible TM from the Under Pokemart since they sell some genuinely important stuff, most notably Protect, which is a free turn at its least useful and a chance to survive an entire battle at its most. After doing a pointless side quest to bring the Kids Grid a machine part to let them hack into Cipher's mainframe, I catch a Shadow Ledian who gets named Weak because while it's the only option for a Shadow Pokemon in the Under, it's also pathetically weak and there's no reason to consider it in the long run. I teach it Light Screen and Reflect and fully expect it to die in the coming battles. I find Silva, who got mistaken for the spy and had his ass kicked by Cipher again, take a disc from him, and ride the UFO into the TV studio where the next Cipher admin awaits. Venus's team is usually scary on a normal playthrough. Her main strategy is, well, to put it bluntly, it's being a fucking nuisance. She uses Attract, Confusion, Curse, and other weird status conditions that stack in such a way that just make it so your Pokemon don't have as many chances to attack. She leads with her Delcatty and Banette, which was unfortunate for me. I was hoping for her to lead with Steelix since Espeon's Fire-type hidden power would be the best way I had access to reliably take it out. Instead, I protected Mr. Ass and had Altaria use Fly. On the next turn, I had Mr. Ass use Psybeam on Banette, which luckily ends up being a critical hit and taking it out. Venus sends in Steelix, who gets hit for chip damage by Eggman using Fly. Delcatty uses Attract on Espeon, which is annoying, but luckily Mr. Ass still manages to hit Steelix with hidden power, bringing it down to red health. Mr. Ass survives an Earthquake on 7 HP, so I switch him out immediately and have Eggman target Steelix with Fire Blast. I switch into Ledian, expecting a sacrifice to be necessary, while Fire Blast misses a second time in a row. Steelix expectedly kills Ledian with Rock Slide, and she gets replaced by Big Gnome. I have Big Gnome use Protect, and finally hit Steelix with Fire Blast, knocking it out and causing her to send out Vileplume, which is her least scary Pokemon. Its strongest attack is Acid, which is 20 base power in a double battle. Delcatty knocks itself out with Double Edge, so Venus sends in her final Pokemon, Suicune. I switch Big Gnome for Amy and manage to hit Vileplume with a critical hit Fire Blast, leaving her with a lone under-leveled Suicune. It shouldn't be hard to imagine how this one goes. I felt good after that battle. Sure, losing Ledian wasn't ideal, but with stats like this, Ledian wasn't meant for anything less than dying to preserve Mr. Ass's life. She was a bodyguard and she did her job. My encounter for the Under Subway was Gligar, which, I mean, Gligar isn't good in Generation 3, but it does have a niche being a Ground-type Pokemon right before an area filled with Electric-type Pokemon. While the battle to catch this Gligar was way more annoying than it should have been, it luckily wasn't bad enough that anyone died. After catching Gligar, the next battle on the staircase was practically designed to be specifically obliterated by the Pokemon in my party, but the next battle was bad. She leads with Dunsparce and Octillery, while I led with Mr. Ass and Gligar. I have Mr. Ass target Octillery with Psybeam, and Gligar target Dunsparce with Shadow Rush, but neither kills, and the combined efforts of both of them result in Gligar dying way too soon to this random-ass Dunsparce knowing Ice Beam and Octillery's Octazooka. Mr. S takes revenge on Dunsparce with Psybeam, and she sends in Masquerain. Meanwhile, Octillery hits Mr. S with another Octazooka and gets the accuracy drop. That's like a 75% chance of hitting on top of like a 15% chance of getting the accuracy drop. Mr. S uses Protect while Eggman takes out Octillery, and she sends in her Shadow Piloswine. And if the rest of this run up to this point was a snowball picking up snow as it rolls down a hill, this battle became a literal blizzard blowing directly into that same snowball as it rolls. Piloswine's blizzard keeps on coming, freezing Sudowoodo before it gets hit even harder by Masquerade's Bubble Beam, and then a few turns later, Eggman gets killed by Blizzard. And then the turn after that, Big Gnome stays frozen and Piloswine uses Dig, avoiding Mr. Ass's attack. Sudowoodo stays frozen again and is killed by Piloswine's Dig. Finally, at this point, Mr. Ass manages to hit Piloswine hard enough that it finally dies, and look, you may think it's ridiculous how long this battle has gone on in this video alone, so let me put this in perspective. This battle was like 12 minutes long on stream, and my mental state was faltering, to say the least. I feel like you just need to reset here. I am not doing that. That's the coward's way out. I'm not doing that. We go to the end. We go to the absolute end of the run. After taking out the last trainer in the subway with no casualties and managing to get the key to the lab from Venus, who drops it while trying to escape, it's time for the last chance to save this run. One way or another, this was the beginning of the end. Chapter 4. Collapse. With only Mr. Ass and Amy remaining, the only way through the Shadow Pokemon lab would be sheer luck. Not only is this lab full of trainers, but many of them use strategies like Self-Destruct and Protect or Rain Dance and Thunder, which are incredibly volatile in double battles. There's also the fact that while my Shadow Pokemon sounds good for the area, since it's a Ground-type Pokemon in Vibrava, it's literally held by the last trainer before the two bosses of the area, meaning you don't get access to its electric immunity until most of the trainers who use electric types are already defeated. And yet, despite everything, we blast our way through this lab. None of the trainers are even close enough in level or competence to stop Mr. Ass and Amy's fury. We catch Vibrava and Purify and evolve it into Krunglodon the Flygon with no issue. And then it's time for a rematch with Scrub, whose only threat, his newly evolved Wobbuffet, is easily dealt with using Mr. Ass and Amy's raw power. And then, it was
Fine time. Oh yeah, baby! You can't have a rainbow without Ein, baby. Ein, you're a lifesaver.
Ein's team is focused on Confusion, Rain Dance, and Thunder. He leads with Altaria and Golbat, which is almost the best possible lead for me. I have Mr. Ass protect himself and Amy set up Light Screen while Ein does nothing. Amy instantly kills Golbat on the next turn using Quick Claw Thunderbolt, while Mr. Ass takes half of Altaria's health. Ein sends in Huntail while Altaria uses Fly. Espeon protects from Fly while Amy takes out Huntail. Ein's Lantern comes out, Mr. Ass takes out Altaria, and Amy protects. Raikou is Ein's final Pokemon, and while this would normally be scary, it's level 40, and I have a relatively safe switch into a Ground type. I switch Mr. Ass out for my secret weapon, Krunglodon the Flygon, who eats Thunder and gets hit by Confuse Ray. Krunglodon hits herself, and Ampharos and Krunglodon tank Thunderbolt and Hydro Pump respectively, while Amy sets up another Light Screen. The idea of sacrificing Krunglodon comes up, so I switch her out for Mr. Ass, who tanks a Hydro Pump thanks to Light Screen and deals a ton of damage to Lantern. Mr. Ass also tanks a Thunder, but gets paralyzed and confused. I switch Mr. Ass back out for Krunglodon, while Amy takes out Raikou with Thunderbolt, leaving Lantern as Ein's last Pokemon. And then when it had a chance to take out one of my only 3 remaining Pokemon...
Discord said
Wait, what?
eat shit and die. What happened? What happened?
It set up Rain Dance again!
Ein is either mentally fucking with you and doing 4D chess, is being fucking stupid, or is just, like, doing his best to not kill Mr. Ass. He's trying to be dramatic about it and save him till the end.
So I've vaguely alluded to it, but I'll just explain it here. The way Weather AI works in Pokemon is if Weather isn't set up, the AI will always use a Weather move if the Pokemon knows it. And if both Pokemon know a Weather move in Colosseum, they'll both use it, which may be useful knowledge later. For now, that one stupid decision on Ein's part resulted in Krunglodon biting the hell out of Lantern, winning the battle with 0 deaths and only 3 Pokemon. This was the hypest moment of the run. But unfortunately, this gave me this idea that I somehow had a chance to win. After defeating Ein, you get access to the TM for Earthquake, which obviously instantly goes on Krunglodon. I give a thing to one of the kids in the under and then immediately go to do something more interesting, the final area in the game, Realgum Tower. The potential encounters here are Delibird, Sunflora, and Heracross. Delibird and Sunflora are both awful, and Heracross is only catchable after beating all 4 Cipher admins again. And tragically, my encounter was Delibird anyway. I decide to go try and catch it right away, and... if I wiped a Delibird, we just don't count it, I think. Jesus! Are you fucking kidding me?
Boy.
Motherfucker.
Oh my.
Okay, Quick Claw, thank you.
Fucking hell. Well, you have 3 Pokemon now.
For the rest of the game until Skarmory, yep. So, heading into all 4 Cipher admin rematches with only 3 Pokemon. Okay. This is certainly winnable still, though. Mirror B's team on his rematch is absolutely pathetic. His highest level Pokemon is level 46, and he has an unevolved Pokemon on his team that absolutely could be evolved. I'm not sure what the plan was here, but this battle's not even worth talking about. It's over within 4 minutes with no deaths, and he doesn't even get his fun music. The next battle is against Venus, who's also pretty weak. She leads with Raichu and Wigglytuff, while I lead with Krunglodon and Mr. Ass. Mr. Ass uses Protect while Krunglodon uses Earthquake, instantly obliterating Raichu and dealing a ton of damage to Wigglytuff, who does nothing. Mr. Ass finishes Wigglytuff with Psychic, and Krunglodon deals a ton of damage to Misdreavus with Crunch. Mr. Ass finishes Misdreavus with Psychic, and Krunglodon deals a ton of damage to Blossom with Flamethrower. Mr. Ass deals a ton of damage to Blossom after she uses a Hyper Potion, and I switch Krunglodon out for Amy to deal with Suicune. Mr. Ass then kills Blossom, and Amy obliterates Suicune with Thunderbolt. This fight was easy. Ein was up next. He leads with Rhydon and Crobat, while I lead with Amy and Krunglodon. Crobat uses Toxic on Krunglodon right away, but Krunglodon takes out Rhydon with Giga Drain while Amy protects. Ein sends in Starmie, which is terrifying in Gen 3, but I have the benefit of knowing for sure it's going to use Rain Dance. I switch Krunglodon for Mr. Ass and get a one-shot critical hit Thunderbolt on Starmie with Amy. Amy one-shots his Pelipper on the next turn. Amy sets up Light Screen, Mr. Ass fails to hit Crobat with Psychic due to Protect, and Raikou deals a little damage to him with Thunder. But on the next turn, Mr. Ass nearly one-shots Raikou with Psychic. Amy finally takes out Crobat, and then takes out Raikou with Thunderbolt on the next turn, resulting in a second Deathless Ein battle. But now, it was time for the scariest Cipher admin battle. Dakim's rematch is terrifying. Even outside of only having 3 Pokemon. His team has insane synergy in terms of typing, moves, and abilities. He uses Sunny Day and Solar Beam, Earthquake and Levitate, Earthquake and Protect, and he even has an exploding Pokemon to top it all off. Dakim leads with Claydol and Flygon, which is basically the worst possible luck for me, being unable to hit either of them with Earthquake. I lead with Mr. Ass and Krunglodon. Mr. Ass protects right away, and Krunglodon uses Dragon Breath on his Flygon, nearly one-shotting and paralyzing. Both of his Pokemon go for Earthquake, which means nothing happens on this turn for him. Dakim uses a Hyper Potion on Flygon, so it survives another turn, and Claydol deals half of Mr. Ass's health with a critical hit Earthquake. Mr. Ass protects again, and his Flygon finally goes down, but unfortunately there's really no way I can keep Mr. Ass in this battle and expect him to survive. Dakim's Claydol deals a little damage to his Forretress with Earthquake. With no safe switch, I decide to risk switching into Amy anyways, and have Krunglodon melt Forretress with Flamethrower. Forretress uses Protect though, but I did manage to find out that Amy has the chance to live 2 Earthquakes. Amy protects, Krunglodon takes out Forretress, Dakim sends out my least favorite Pokemon of all time, and he deals a little damage to it with his own Earthquake. Krunglodon kills Whiscash with Giga Drain, and he sends out Entei, his final Pokemon. Significantly less scary in this battle. Amy barely lives a second Earthquake, while Entei takes more than half its health and damage, and Amy uses Protect. Krunglodon takes out Entei, and at this point, Deathless Dakim seems possible against all odds. I risk the double Protect, but it doesn't work out, and unfortunately Amy dies, leaving me with only 2 Pokemon. With Dakim defeated, I grab the Master Ball from Agate Village and head to the absolute final area of the game, Realgam Tower. Here, there's a battle against Gonzap, the leader of Team Snag'em from the very beginning of the game. Luckily, his Shadow Skarmory is a guaranteed encounter, so if I can just survive up until that point, I can at least head into Tower Colosseum with 3 Pokemon. Gonzap's team is pretty bad, with most of his Pokemon having random HM moves they shouldn't have, among other stupid choices. He leads with Shiftry and Crawdaunt. Mr. Ass protects while Krunglodon uses Flamethrower to take most of Shiftry's health. Both of his Pokemon target Mr. Ass, so nothing happens. On the next turn, Krunglodon takes out Shiftry, and Mr. Ass gets hit with Crawdaunt's Sludge Bomb. Mr. Ass uses Protect, Krunglodon uses Earthquake, doing decent damage to both Pinsir and Crawdaunt. And then Pinsir uses Earthquake to take out his own Crawdon. He sends in Hariyama, which Mr. Ass one-shots with Psychic, while Krunglodon finishes off Pinsir with Flamethrower. I throw one of my Infinite Master Balls at Skarmory, and that's that. It's time for the final 4 battles. It's technically 6, but 4 sounds better. My encounter for the Tower Colosseum is Metagross, which is held by the second to last boss. After about 45 minutes of mashing the A button and purifying Skarmory, lovingly named Snad II, I head into the Colosseum. The first trainer here leads with Porygon 2 and a Shadow Miltank. Porygon 2 traced Levitate, so Earthquake only hits Miltank, who used Defense Curl. And Porygon 2 got a crit Ice Beam on Krunglodon. Yet another normal type unexpectedly having Ice Beam coming back to bite me. But I decided that if the run was going to die here, I was going to be as petty about it as possible.
Snag to a final hope.
And then one of them just knows Flamethrower.
Yeah, Absol could learn, like, probably Thunder, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it can, because I've used that before. Apparently the next trainer after this uses only fire types?
Yeah, we're fucked.
Oh, okay.
Snad 2 going out like Bardock.
He just refuses to die. This is the 4th time. Why did... I'm at +4 evasion!
Does Sharpedo have like an accuracy thing?
No, I don't think so.
I'm gonna check.
I don't think No Guard even existed until Gen 4.
It's got
Yeah.
rough skin.
I
Maybe
think
it has
rough
a
skin,
scope
rough
lens?
skin kills. The most disrespectful way to die.
Oh my god.
Man.
This was the fucking funniest thing that could have happened, to be honest.
And so concludes my first attempt at the Pokemon Colosseum Hardcore Nuzlocke. What should have been a relatively easy chance to show how I've grown as a player since my first run all that time ago ends in tragedy. But this wasn't the end. No way in hell am I taking this lying down. Mr. Ass wants revenge, and by God, he will get it.